Hi everybody, I'm Christian and this is Lazy Devs. I would love to drink a tea, but alas, I ran out of tea. We have to finish this game very quickly. Because I cannot afford tea apparently. I don't know what my reasoning there was. Anyways, welcome to Pico-8 Hero. I've been really not lazy. The opposite of lazy. Still don't know what opposite of lazy. Post what you think the opposite of lazy is. Like in Germany, you would say fleißig, which means, I don't know, maybe I should look it up. Anyway, yeah, loading the hero one. So I've been designing the levels, and I wanted to show you this time around, like what I've been up to, all the levels I already designed. You know, I prepared something in between. I did not record this because it was kind of like a very long job. And I don't know, like it didn't seem like I could like separate this into individual episodes. There was a lot of like things that I can like convey to you guys when I was doing this, because most of the levels were just copies of already existing levels from Arkanoid, from the first Arkanoid. So anyway, so level design is now the part that we're talking about. So let me show you what I use to design the levels. Generally, the problem is when you're designing levels, especially when this is how our levels look like. It's kind of like not really good way to design levels to just sit in Pico-8 and start typing in numbers and letters, right? That doesn't seem like a good way to design a level because you don't see the level. And I feel like the levels of Arkanoid, especially a specific game, are kind of like really about the layout and where the bricks are, and you want to maybe create shapes out of the bricks. You want to maybe create tunnels, stuff like that. You want to see like the spatial relationships between the individual bricks. This has nothing to do how those bricks are then represented in the code. There is no spatial relationship, at least not one that's visible to us. So whenever you're doing something that's kind of creative and something that you want to have like creative control over, you want to have like inspiration, you want to try something out, you want to give yourself creative opportunities. In order to do that, you want to create like a system where you can see the changes as you make them. You want to create like a loop. There is this beautiful, I always mention this, maybe I already mentioned this in this let's play in this tutorial. There's this beautiful scene in Inception where Leonardo DiCaprio explains to Ellen Page how dreaming works. And that's also like a metaphor how creative work happens. And so what he says is like your mind is inventing something, and then you inhabit the place that your mind invented, which inspires more invention. You kind of like your mind thinks of something and then it puts you inside of it. And then as you're inside of it, you get more inspiration to think of more things, and then putting you inside of it. It's like the cycle. You think of something and you experience it. You think of something and you experience it. Like this loop. And this is the kind of loop that we're trying to create whenever we do something creative, because this is like this core of what creativity is all about. Inventing something, but immediately checking it, immediately experiencing it to see if this is something that we like or don't like, if this is something that we're working towards. So again, not really here because, okay, we can type those letters and then we can start the game, but we have to go to the start screen, and then we can see this thing. Oh, then I see, I actually want to remove a couple of bricks, so I have to go out and then go in there and change stuff. That's not a really good loop. What I want instead is kind of like a situation where I can actually see the levels and just click on things and place my bricks as I click on things. I want to create that kind of situation. And the question as a game designer is often like, how can I create those kind of situations? The hardest way would be for me to start a new program from scratch, maybe in a different programming language that allows mouse controls, because Pico-8 doesn't really have really good mouse controls. Like processing would be a good language, and to make a level editor. And the quality of the levels generally is kind of like in closely relation of how good the tools are that you're working with. But also you kind of have to balance this about, with how much effort are you actually putting in the tools. This is a small game. I don't want to invent a level editor. That would be a whole new tutorial. So what I did instead is, long story, I did the following here. So this is a tool that everybody should be familiar with. For some reason, it doesn't render the why you do this to me? Anyway, it doesn't render the bar of the window, whatever. This is a tool called Notepad++. It's a free tool and it's a very well-known tool, especially for programmers and game developers and stuff like that. It's kind of like a text editor, like you know, the Notepad text editor is, but it's way more powerful, has a way more feature, is incredibly customizable, and one of the important features is that it also has syntax highlighting. Which means when you're doing something that, you know, when you program things and stuff like that, you can highlight syntax. For example, here's here's the code that I had where I tested out recently the new collision detection, and I had it like open in this editor because I copied it over from this into our editing window. And something you can do is here you can set the language. Oh, you don't even see the friggin' menus. Holy crap! Yeah, I'm sorry. This recording, like apparently Open Broadcaster is really not good at this. But if I set this to Lua, you can see that suddenly all of the Lua words, all the important words that are color coded in our Pico-8 are suddenly also color coded in this editor. So I can see if I made any mistakes, if I mistyped anything, I can visually read the code a lot better. That's syntax highlighting. That's called syntax highlighting. So what I did here when I did the levels, I also invented syntax highlighting for a level structure. A Pico-8, the breakout level structure. So let me turn this off. So I turn it off. How do I turn it off, by the way? I don't know how to turn this off. I'm going to set it just to some different language, whatever. Yeah. See? Now, this is how levels look like. I put some dots in between the individual bricks. You know, we had this before. The individual letters, X means an empty brick. I actually had like a little cheat sheet here. X is empty space, B is normal brick, I is indestructible brick, H is hardened brick, and so forth. We had this when we invented this encoding structure. So what I did is I created a template where I just, you know, filled everything with just X's. It's just an empty screen, so to speak. And then I put some dots in between, because if you don't have the dots, then the screen looks very, very vertical, because the letters, the individual letters are, you know, very vertical. They're very high rectangles. Whereas if you look at the bricks in our game, they're very wide rectangles. So I wanted to kind of like have a better feeling for you know, for the way the level will look like when it's finished. So I put some dots in between to spread them out a little bit. And I had even like a, you know, like a ball and like a paddle just underneath, just to get like more of a feeling. You know, again, you want to experience the level as you are designing it. So with this template in place, I started just like making levels. I just started like, you know, going in here and just changing things into different things. You know, this is going to be a brick, whatever. And to help out, I also had like this, again, this user-defined language, which you can do. I don't know if it will show up. Let me see. Define your language. You don't see it. Can I dock it? Yes, I can. Okay. So here is kind of like, here's where you define everything, and you can go to keywords. I can actually select a number, breakout here. So here's the keyword B, that's the brick, and then you can go in the styler and say, okay, brick is going to be background pink. You don't see it. Okay, whatever. If you click on the styler button, a new panel shows up where it shows, okay, this is going to be pink. And so forth and so forth. So I went through this, defined my own kind of like highlighting, syntax highlighting. And now if I go through here and I select something like, okay, I'm going to go B, and then it tells me, all right, it actually turns pink. So I can have a feeling for how the level will look like in the end. So once I'm done with this, I have like this huge blocks of X's with dots in between. How do I turn this into like a nice little string of code? And what I did is there is an option to record macros. So here, oh, you don't see it. And so here's a macro menu. And if you go in here, there's the start recording button. I'm going to start recording here. And any sequence of keystrokes are recorded in this macro. So I can just like remove all the dots in one line. I'm just going to do it real quick. Removing all the dots in one line. And that should be enough. So now I go macro stop recording. I can go to the next line, and then there's like a keystroke, Control Shift P, Control Shift P, and then see it repeats all the keystrokes are made just in one button press. It's very powerful. That's why you use people like to use Notepad++ because it features these kinds of abilities that allows you to edit a lot of text very quickly. And so with these features, I kind of like boiled down all the levels into like the strings of very, without the dots. And then I could like, reduce even further with the slashes for an entire line of crosses. That's something I did manually. And then I copied them out into individual lines, giving each one of the names, so I can kind of like, without even seeing the code, I can know which one it is. And so yeah, and so these are all of the levels, as you can see. I've made 20 levels. The original Arkanoid had 30 levels, but I think this is way too much, and I think already 20 levels is too much. So down here I have all of the levels underneath. I resorted them because of course the order in which I created the levels doesn't really match. Which one, they should be, the level should get more difficult with time, right? So the order in which I created the levels doesn't really match, how difficult or how easy they are. So I rearranged them a little bit. And so this is kind of like the final arrangement I came up with. I maybe also want to show you my inspiration for all those levels. Arkanoid playthrough or walkthrough. Let's go to walkthrough. There's a website, strategy wiki it's called, where you can see like all of the levels. Like maybe I can turn it on. Can I turn it on? Yeah, here it is. So you can see all of the levels of Arkanoid, and you can click on each individual one and zoom in a little bit to see what's happening. Oh, that's an interesting level. So basically from all the 30 levels, I pick the ones that I found interesting. So I had some of my own ideas. For example, this level seemed kind of like an interesting approach, where it's like these indestructible blocks and regular blocks in between. So you have to it's kind of like this very tedious, very, very, late stage 31. 32 levels it had. And then afterwards, 33 was the final boss. And the first level is like a regular breakout kind of level, and the next one is stairs, for example, right? So that was like the progression there. And the stairs, you have to get in here, and then you get like a high score if you get in here. Otherwise, if you try to go through here, you have all those indestructible blocks or like hardened blocks that keep you out. So I went through the levels, picked the ones that I liked, and recreated them with our code. And as you can see, this is the simple breakout level here. And this is the stairs levels at the second level. See, it's like all of these levels I already had. There's no, this is not a creative, like, oh, this is not my soul project, so to speak. Like, I don't have any ambitions to fulfill here. I'm fine with just copying already existing levels. I did some tweaks though. So for example, here, the way our scoring system, the power-up system works is different. We have those power-ups which are triggered by power-up blocks. This is not the case in the original Arkanoid. There you get the power-ups like every couple of thousands of points, I think, or randomly, I don't know. So I had to put in some power-up blocks every now and then. To get some levels, to get some power-ups in here. And that's something that I'm actually interested in, like if there's enough power-ups or maybe not enough power-ups, how long does it play through the levels? Are those levels actually playable? Like, is it actually possible to play through those levels? So anyway, as always, I will post the results of this. Let me see. There we go. I will post the results of this on downstairs in the comment section, not in the doobly-doo, in the description of the video, so you can copy and paste all of those levels. You don't have to design it themselves. But I also would encourage you to try it out. Like, get a Notepad+, it's free, it's great. Try to design your own levels, at least one, just to get a feel for this. I think this is really worth it. And I think that was a really good solution. I didn't have to program my own software for this. I just could use an existing software. That's always preferred situation. You don't want to be like reinventing the wheel every time, especially not for a small project like this. If this was a big project, if this was a project that that multiple people worked on and where I wanted to achieve something very specific that's very hard to achieve, then I would have no problems programming something on my own. So anyway, I'm going to copy those levels out, and then I'm going to create a new tab. Oh, let me remove this. Okay, levels, and I'm going to create a new function. Technically not necessary, but I like to do this. Load levels. And then I'm gonna paste is in here. I'm not gonna even bother with indenting because we're not gonna ever do anything else, and sometimes maybe we wanna copy and paste stuff. So yeah, not necessary. So here are all of the levels. And so back here we can remove all of this crap. We can just actually, let's just, because maybe we want to test it at some point. And then we can just go load levels. And you can see this is the first level. Now I would love to actually see how the level, after all the other levels look like, but you know, I would have to play through the entire game. So something I want to maybe do as well. Oh, I didn't install the new Pico version. Oh, there's a new Pico version just came out and I didn't install it, I think. So let's go to update functions. And I want to go update start. Update game, yeah, that's what I want to do. So here I'm gonna go, if button press is 5, then I'm gonna go next level. So I can just quickly browse through the levels. Like this. So I press C now, I should go to the next level, or X. Yeah, X is next level. See? And you can see all of the levels. This one is nice because you have to get the ball through those indestructible bricks upstairs. It's really cool. Something I figured is that the original Arkanoid, the indestructible bricks in the original Arkanoid were a lot more difficult to destroy. So for example, here it was actually, oops, now I cannot actually go back. Not the indestructible, the hardened blocks were actually difficult to get into. So this is the final level, I feel. Is it the final level? No, it's not. This is the final level. Because it's kind of like very chaotic. There's a lot of indestructible blocks and, you know, it's very close. It's very easy to lose your ball. And of course we only have one life, so. Yeah. So what I wanted to say is, like, for example, here. So the indestructible blocks are actually very easy to break. So you don't actually aren't required to put the ball through to in this gap. You can just actually just break through the hardened blocks. So I'm thinking about maybe making the hardened blocks less destructible or tougher. So you have to hit it multiple times. I'm actually coming around on a smaller pedal. Maybe we're gonna keep around the pedal size. That's something that we have to test out. Power up time is something also have to test out. Right now it seems good. Something that have been bothering me. Reduce doesn't give me additional points right now, and that's something I want to definitely implement, maybe even today. So here are a couple of other gameplay tweaks. So tougher hardened blocks. Here's something, I don't know if you already had it, lost ball. So if the ball is kind of hits the side of the pedal, that it still collides with the pedal, doesn't happen currently. Sticky aura is when you pick up a sticky power up, I want to have a green aura around the pedal, so to indicate that, you know, the next ball is going to get caught on the pedal. Infinite ball protection. Oh yeah, that's something also that I figured. Like, it's possible right now for the ball to get stuck in an infinite loop, and so it never gets down back, especially with indestructible blocks, right? You can get like into like infinite loop and it just bounces there forever and you cannot win the game. So I want to add like a randomizer or like a countdown timer that, you know, after 10 seconds of bouncing, like if it seems like the ball is stuck, it will randomly change angles. So it might, like, you know, you might tease it out like this. And randomized sick is, oh, I don't think I mentioned this on one video. So randomized sick is something I want to add. Is like there's like this so sick message, and I want to have multiple messages there showing up. So maybe that's something we're going to also do today. So tougher hardened blocks is something I want to do. Little two visual details I wanted also to add. So visual stuff. Actually, we can put the sticky aura into the visual stuff. So visual stuff, I know, I still keep adding stuff, but it's kind of like, I think this kind of polishing stuff is very important not to give up here, because this is where the game gets from, it's kind of okay, to, wow, that's really good. That's the part that actually players are talking about when they talk about lazy devs, you know, oh, this is not polished, you know, this is not good, this is a shitty game, you know. And actually, you know, this is kind of like the little details at the end of the game where you went through this entire development process and it was so difficult to get anything going. And once anything is there, you know, all the little details that you add seem such a huge, big deal for players. So a sticky aura is, I think, something that adds a lot of usability. Also speed lines, pad speed lines. So when you move the pad very quickly, that you leave, like the way the ball leaves trails of particles, it would be nice if the pad left speed lines behind it when it was moving very fast, especially when it's moving more than 2 pixels per second, because for us that's 2 pixels per frame, because for us that's the cutoff point for spinning the ball. So that's also that also has kind of like a gameplay reason. There's one more thing. Oh yeah, and then maybe a ball twist. So if you change the trajectory, you want to maybe have like some kind of particle, some kind of sound effect that indicates that actually you changed the trajectory. It's kind of some kind of feedback to make the player know that they did a cool thing. And another thing that I also wanted to add, oh gosh, this is not 15. It's not correctly numbered, whatever. It's not visual stuff, but something else. All right. So I noticed, like, if we have 20 levels, that's a lot of levels. And it's kind of like this game where it didn't feel right if you lose, like you're level 15 and you know it's still 5 levels out from the end, and then you lose the game and then you start over and over and again. Like you lose and you have to restart the entire game. That seems bad. So what I want to do is instead is to make it like an arcade game. And the way arcades worked is, if you lost, you could throw in a quarter and then you continue playing, but you lose your score. So you have an ability to witness, you know, all of the levels and practice the later levels, but you also have like an incentive to try to beat the entire game on just one quarter, because then you have like the biggest score. So arcade, game over. So the way you sometimes see this in console games as well, where you have like this countdown timer when you go going game over, countdown timer, and then you can if you press the button, then you continue playing the game from that point where you were, but you lose all of the points. And then if you press another button or just wait it out, you just return to the start screen where you restart the entire game. I think that would be better than what we have right now. Whew, that's a lot of stuff, and we're already very far into this episode. I've been talking a lot in this episode. I haven't actually coding a lot instead of, I mean, I did a lot of levels, but except from that, not too much. So, oh yeah, by the way, I reached out to a sound guy who has actually agreed to maybe cooperate with me. So maybe he will actually make the sound stuff, which I'm really glad that he will, because that will be a very good thing to get off my chest. Otherwise, I would have to start to do music, and I'm not really a good musician. So I'd rather give it into more experienced hands, and he will also maybe record even a tutorial about this, so you know how the music was created. All right, so let us start doing some interesting stuff. So let us maybe, let me see. Oh yeah, let's tackle this one. Reduce gives points. That's something that we don't have right now and we want. So power up get, here is reduce. I want to see what reduce is called. This is reduce. It's 900. Timer reduce. Right now the reduce does nothing. Okay, so this boosts the chain. I think it would be nice, get points. It would have a get points function. Because right now we're doing the math everywhere we're doing those points, and that's kind of a very bad idea. So it would be good to centralize all of the math of getting the points, because this is going to be some more complicated math. I'm going to deposit the timer reduce that I have in my copy and paste here, because I'm going to need that name in a second here. Points. It's good. It's multiple of points, sir. So here you can see that we're doing all this math every time we're gonna get a point, and that's not cool. So yeah, chain times. So instead we're gonna just go get points and 10, right? And then this math is something we're gonna externalize into this function, and then we're gonna make the math even more complicated. Okay. So if timer reduce equals or is smaller equals, maybe it's negative, I don't even know, just making sure. It's always a good idea to use smaller or greater, just to, you know, to cover all this extreme cases where something went wrong. And otherwise do this. Right. So I don't know. So the points multiplicator actually probably does nothing. We can probably remove this. I don't want to boost the chain. Oh yeah, so this should be also the underscore p, right? Underscore p. Underscore p. So maybe we just multiply it by well, I don't know, what should be a good multiplier? It's kind of like, you know, we're spitballing here. Let's go times 4 maybe? Is that a good idea? Times 4? The thing is, like, it has a significant downside, and something like the Mega Ball doesn't have any downside at all. It has all just upside. So it's kind of like, I kind of want to be, this would be really powerful to some extent. So maybe 10? That seems really broken. Yeah, let's go with 10, whatever. Right. What else? So yeah, now we have to actually plug in the get points everywhere where we added actually some points. So here, we're always getting 10 points, so maybe it doesn't really matter that much. Maybe we should give us less points for some bricks, I don't know. If you have any suggestions of how to tweak this game, I'm preparing, that's actually one of the last episodes before we start playtesting this. So that would be important to see how many points players made. Okay. And that's it. So 10 points here, 10 points here, 10 points here, 10 points here. So let me see if this is the same. So B, I, nothing. H, hardened brick. P, para brick. And S, explosion brick. Yeah, that's good. Right. What else? So let me see if this even works. Oh, let's see. That is a weird. Oh, Jesus! I didn't say 0 here. That's embarrassing. It would be nice also, since we're here, if the multiplier up top would also reflect this. So let's try this. Draw functions. Draw game, draw balls, UI, there we go. So it's gonna go if timer reduced, there we go. So if timer reduce is smaller than 0, then normal chain multiplier else, and then we're gonna print chain times 10x. Actually, let's print. So because this is right centered, right? So let's do this like this. So we're gonna print, and we're gonna go something like local chain mode, local CT, something like, you know, okay, local CT. CT equals chain dot x. That's good. And otherwise, CT equals no chain times 10 dot x. And then here we're gonna just print the CT. And then the position, this 120 is gonna be, I guess it's gonna be 126 minus the length of CT times 4. We had this before when we were layouting some of the stuff, some of the end screens, where, you know, you have to measure the length of the string. That's what the hashtag is for. We multiply it by 4 because each character has 4 pixels in width, and that's kind of like the length of pixels of how long this text is. And then we subtract this from 126 to get at the left position of the text. So if it's longer, we start printing it earlier. And then maybe something else, local CT CC, that's going to be the color, and it's going to be 7 normally. Actually, we can even make this even simpler. When we do it like this, then it's even better. Then if it's greater than 0, yes. See, this is nice and clean. So CC is 7. That's the color of the text. It's going to be normally 7, but if we picked up reduce, then we're going to make this really hot. I could make it blinking text here, but just for now, just to see if it works, I'm going to make the 8 in here. Something is wrong. There's an equal sign. What? What? Why are you like this? Oh, there's too many equal signs. I'm doing a lot of really silly mistakes today. I'm not a good programmer today. As if I was a good programmer otherwise. Oh, that was a good one. Okay, let me pick a level where there's a lot of upgrades happening. Whatever, maybe here. Look at how good I am. Oh, perfect. See, it was 20x now. Of course, I lost the ball. Yeah, let me turn on one of. See, that's why I had this. That's why I had my test levels. It still didn't remove them here. I don't know which one. Okay, well, let's try this. Yeah, this is a good one. And it's even easier now that that they are further away. Oh, this is good. Look, 10, 20. Oh my gosh, look at how awesome this is. Yes. Good. All right. This is gonna be it. With this episode, I'm gonna last episode, and we're gonna on the next episode, we're gonna go through some of these other things. I think this is important. Maybe do the hardened blocks, and maybe tackle some of the visual stuff. Maybe I actually really want to address the lost ball part because I think this is important. And then we, yeah, and then we can start thinking. Oh yeah. So another thing that we also have to do, I have to put it on the list here, is gonna be stats. because if we're gonna give it away to playtesting, I also want to keep track of some stats. Where are people dying? You know, what levels are difficult? How much points are they getting? That kind of stuff. It would be nice to track some of this stuff, and we can do this easily. But you know, it requires some extra work. That's gonna be it for today. See you next time around, guys. Bye bye.